Before we dive into this story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's begin. The emergency room doors burst open with a force that made every head turn. Standing in the doorway was a little girl, no more than 6 years old. Her clothes were dirty, her face streaked with tears and grime. Her small arms trembled as she clutched something wrapped in a stained towel against her chest. The fluorescent lights of Willowbrook Hospital cast harsh shadows across her frightened face. "My baby brother won't cry anymore," she whispered. Nurse Janet Morrison was the first to react. She rushed forward, her eyes widening as she saw what the child was holding. A baby, tiny, motionless, blue-lipped. The infant's eyes were closed, its small body limp and terrifyingly still. "Code Blue. We need a doctor now." Janet's voice echoed through the emergency room. "Doctor?" Evelyn Carter had been standing near the coffee station, exhausted from helping with the bus accident victims. At 68 years old, she'd retired 3 years ago, hoping to leave the weight of the medical world behind. But when the hospital called this morning, desperate for help, something pulled her back. She'd told herself it would just be one day to help her community. But the moment she saw that little girl and that silent baby, Evelyn knew this was going to be much more than that. "Bring them to Trauma Room 2, Evelyn commanded, her training kicking in instantly. She rushed to the child, gently trying to take the infant. But the little girl's grip tightened. "Please don't take him, he's all I have." The child's voice broke with desperate fear. Evelyn knelt down, looking directly into the girl's terrified eyes. "Sweetheart, I'm a doctor. I'm going to help your brother, but I need you to let me hold him. Can you do that?" The little girl hesitated, then slowly, carefully transferred the tiny bundle into Evelyn's experienced hands. The moment she touched the baby, Evelyn's heart sank. He was cold, too cold. But there was something else that made her medical instincts scream. The baby still had its umbilical cord attached. Janet prepped the resuscitation equipment. This baby was born recently. Very recently. Evelyn moved swiftly toward the trauma room, the little girl following closely behind. As the medical team worked frantically to warm and revive the infant, Nurse Morrison noticed the child's backpack still hanging from her small shoulders. "Honey, can I take your bag? It looks heavy." The little girl nodded silently, sliding the worn backpack off. Janet unzipped it, expecting to find toys or snacks. Instead, she gasped and nearly dropped it. Inside, wrapped in a blood-stained cloth, was a placenta, still connected to the umbilical cord they'd just seen on the baby. "Dr. Carter." Janet's voice was barely a whisper. "You need to see this." Evelyn glanced over, her face paling. This baby hadn't been born in a hospital. This baby had been born somewhere unknown, without medical help, without proper care. And now he was fighting for his life. "Where's your mother, sweetheart?" Evelyn asked gently, never stopping her work on the infant. The little girl clutched a crumpled drawing in her small fist. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Mommy went to get help 3 days ago. She never came back. She told me to take care of the baby. I tried, I really tried. But he stopped crying this morning and I got scared. 3 days. This child had been alone for 3 days with a newborn baby." Evelyn felt something crack inside her chest. She'd seen terrible things in her 40 years of medicine, but this was different. This was a child who'd been invisible to the world, crying for help in silence. "What's your name, brave girl?" Evelyn asked, managing a warm smile despite the crisis unfolding. "Lily. My name is Lily Brennan." At that moment, the baby let out a weak, fragile cry. The sound was the most beautiful thing Evelyn had heard in years. The team cheered softly, relief washing over them. The baby was alive. Barely, but alive. "Doctor." Patricia Homewood, the hospital director, entered the room, taking in the scene with practiced assessment. She pulled Evelyn aside. "Social services are on their way. This is going to be a complicated case, Evelyn." But Evelyn wasn't listening. She was watching Lily, who'd moved to the corner of the room, still clutching that crumpled drawing. Evelyn walked over and knelt beside her. "Lily, you saved your brother's life today. You're the bravest person I've ever met." Lily looked up with eyes that held far too much pain for a 6-year-old. "Are you going to leave me too?" Evelyn felt her throat tighten. She thought of her own daughter, Helena, lost years ago. She thought of all the ways she'd failed as a mother. But maybe, just maybe, she could get this right. No, sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere. As Lily reached for Evelyn's hand, a chilling question settled in the doctor's mind. Where was this child's mother? Why had no one noticed a whole family disappearing into darkness? And what other secrets was this little girl still hiding? This wasn't just a medical emergency anymore. This was a mystery that Evelyn Carter was determined to solve. Evelyn tried to convince herself that she'd done her part. The baby, now officially named Oliver according to his birth certificate found in Lily's backpack, was stabilized and moved to the neonatal intensive care unit. His vital signs were improving, though doctors warned he'd need careful monitoring for days, possibly weeks. It was time for Evelyn to step back and let the system take over. That's what she told herself. But when she tried to gently explain to Lily that other people would help her now, the little girl's reaction stopped her cold. "No, please don't leave me." Lily grabbed Evelyn's hand with surprising strength, her small fingers digging in desperately. "Everyone leaves. Daddy left. Mommy left. Please don't go too." Evelyn felt her resolve crumble. She looked into those pleading eyes and saw her own daughter's face from years ago, begging for attention Evelyn had been too busy to give. Not this time. Not again. "Okay, sweetheart. I'll stay a little longer." 20 minutes later, Rebecca Langford from Child Protective Services arrived with her clipboard and practiced smile. She was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes that suggested she'd seen too much, too fast. She introduced herself to Lily with the kind of cheerful voice people use when they're trying too hard to seem friendly. "Hi, Lily. I'm Rebecca. I'm here to help you and your baby brother. Can you tell me where you live?" Lily pressed closer to Evelyn, silent as stone. Rebecca tried again, pulling out colorful markers and paper. "Maybe you can draw me a picture of your house?" Still nothing. Lily's jaw was set in stubborn silence. Evelyn intervened gently. "Rebecca, maybe we should give her some time. She's been through something we can't even imagine." Rebecca's professional smile flickered. "Dr. Carter, I appreciate your concern, but I have protocols to follow. We need information to help this child." While they spoke in hushed tones near the doorway, Evelyn noticed something. Lily had pulled items from her backpack, arranging them on the hospital bed. An empty can of beans, 3 melted candle stubs, a thin blanket, and several pieces of paper, folded and refolded until they were falling apart. Evelyn approached slowly. "Lily, what are those papers you have there?" For the first time since arriving at the hospital, Lily spoke more than a few words. "My drawings. I made lots of them. Mommy said drawing helps when you're scared. Can I see them?" Lily hesitated, then handed Evelyn the crumpled papers. What Evelyn saw made her blood run cold. The first drawing showed a small house. Nothing unusual. But the second drawing showed the same house with a woman lying on the floor, a small child standing beside her with arms raised upward. The third showed the child knocking on doors, with large X marks over each one. The fourth showed a tiny figure alone in darkness, holding something small. At the bottom of one drawing in shaky child's handwriting was a single word: "Help." Evelyn's hands trembled as she held the drawings. These weren't just pictures, they were evidence. Evidence of a little girl crying out in the only way she knew how, creating a silent scream that no one had heard. "Rebecca, you need to see these." Evelyn's voice was sharp now, angry. Rebecca examined the drawings, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine shock. "My God, this child was asking for help for how long?" "That's what I'd like to know," Evelyn said coldly. "Lily mentioned an address, the Brennan family. Are they in your system?" Rebecca pulled out her tablet, typing quickly. Her face went pale. "Yes, there's a file. 3 visits were made to the Brennan residence over the past 2 years, but the case was closed 8 months ago, marked as insufficient evidence of immediate danger." "Insufficient evidence?" Evelyn's voice rose. "This child drew pictures begging for help. Where were you? Where was anyone?" "Dr. Carter, I understand you're upset, but—" "Upset? I'm furious." A 6-year-old was left to care for her mother and a newborn baby, and your system filed it away as insufficient evidence. Dr. Holmwood appeared at the doorway, her expression stern. "Evelyn, a word. Now." In the hallway, Holmwood spoke quietly, but firmly. "I know what you're thinking. I can see it in your eyes. You want to fix this. You want to save this child. But Evelyn, you retired for a reason. You nearly broke yourself the last time you got too involved in a case. Remember?" Evelyn did remember. She remembered Helena, her own daughter, pushing her away, because Evelyn had always chosen her patients over her family. She remembered the guilt when Helena passed away, and they'd never reconciled. She remembered promising herself she'd never care that much again. But she also remembered something else. She remembered why she became a doctor in the first place, to help those who couldn't help themselves. "I remember, Patricia, but I also remember taking an oath. And I'm not walking away from this." When Evelyn returned to the room, Rebecca was writing down the Brennan family address. "I'll send someone to check on the residents first thing tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow?" Evelyn said sharply. "A mother is missing. 3 days, Rebecca. Every hour counts." Rebecca looked uncomfortable. "I'll make some calls. See if we can move faster." As Rebecca left, Lily tugged on Evelyn's sleeve. Her voice was so quiet, Evelyn almost missed it. "Dr. Evelyn?" "Mommy said she was going to find help in town. She said she'd be back before dark, but she never came back. It's been 3 whole days now." Evelyn knelt down, holding both of Lily's small hands. "Lily, I need you to be brave one more time. Can you tell me anything else about your mommy? Anything that might help us find her?" Lily's eyes filled with fresh tears. She was really scared. She kept looking out the window. She said there were people watching our house. People who wanted to hurt us. Evelyn felt ice run down her spine. This wasn't just a case of a struggling family falling through the cracks. Something darker was happening here. Something that had driven a desperate mother into hiding, leaving her children in a house with no electricity, no food, and no help. And somewhere out there, Marlo Brennan was still missing. By dawn, Evelyn had convinced Rebecca and Sergeant Dave Mullins to visit the Brennan residence immediately. The address led them to the outskirts of Willowbrook, where houses grew sparse and woods grew thick. The further they drove, the more isolated the landscape became. "This is it," Mullins said, pulling up to a structure barely visible through overgrown bushes and trees. "Nobody's been out here in a while, by the looks of it." The house stood like a forgotten memory, its paint peeling, windows cracked or missing entirely. The front porch sagged dangerously. But what struck Evelyn most was the silence. No electricity hum, no signs of life, just eerie, heavy quiet. "Let's be careful," Mullins said, leading the way with his flashlight despite the morning sun. The front door was unlocked, hanging slightly ajar as if someone had left in a hurry. Inside, the reality of Lily's life hit Evelyn like a physical blow. The main room held 2 thin mattresses on the floor, covered with worn blankets. Empty food cans were stacked in careful pyramids against one wall, as if someone had tried to keep things organized. Candle stubs sat on every surface, wax melted into strange shapes. A small pile of books, mostly children's stories, lay in one corner. "No electricity," Rebecca noted, flipping a light switch uselessly. "No running water either from the looks of the bathroom." But it was the walls that made Evelyn's throat tighten. Dozens of drawings, all made by Lily, covered every available space. Some showed happy memories, stick figures holding hands, a sun shining bright. But most showed something darker, a child knocking on doors, adults turning away, a small figure alone in the dark. "She was documenting her life," Evelyn whispered, "crying for help the only way she knew how." Mullins examined the kitchen area. "Whoever was here tried to keep things going. There's organization to this chaos. Someone was fighting to survive." Rebecca found a calendar hanging on the wall near the mattresses. Most days had simple marks, counting time. But the entries from recent weeks told a story. Baby coming soon. Need help. Then, baby born. So scared. And finally, 3 days ago, the last entry. Going to town for help. Lily, take care of Oliver. Mommy will be back soon. Evelyn felt her chest constrict. Marlo Brennan hadn't abandoned her children. She'd left to save them. "We need to search the area," Evelyn said urgently. "She might be hurt, she might be lost, 3 days in this weather." "I'll call for a search team," Mullins agreed, already reaching for his radio. Rebecca was looking through a small box of papers. "I found something. Records show Thomas Brennan, the father, was arrested 8 months ago, charged with theft. He's been in county jail ever since." "Does it say if he was guilty?" Evelyn asked. Rebecca scanned the documents. "He maintained his innocence. His case is under review, apparently. But that means Marlowe was alone. Pregnant. With Lily. No income. No support." Evelyn thought of all the systems that should have caught this family, should have helped them. Instead, they'd become invisible, falling through every crack until a 6-year-old became the only lifeline between life and death. Back at the hospital that afternoon, Evelyn sat with Lily in the pediatric unit. The little girl was freshly bathed, wearing clean hospital clothes, but her eyes still held that haunted look of someone who'd seen too much. "We went to your house, Lily," Evelyn said gently. "We're going to find your mommy. I promise." Lily clutched the stuffed bear a nurse had given her. "Did you see my drawings?" "I did. They were very brave drawings. You tried to tell people what was happening. Nobody listened," Lily said simply, without anger, just stating a fact. "I drew lots of pictures. I showed them to the mail lady once. She said they were pretty, but she didn't understand." Evelyn pulled the child close. "I understand now, and I'm listening." Lily was quiet for a moment, then whispered, "Dr. Evelyn, Mommy was scared of someone. A man came to our house sometimes. He wanted Daddy to do bad things. When Daddy said no, the man got mad. That's why Daddy got in trouble. The man lied about him." Evelyn's instincts sharpened. "This man. Did your mommy know his name?" "She called him Mr. Vance. He had mean eyes." Sergeant Mullins needed to hear this, but first, Evelyn needed to make sure Lily felt safe. As the little girl finally drifted to sleep, exhausted from the emotional day, Evelyn made a silent vow. She would find Marlowe Brennan. She would uncover the truth about Thomas. She would make sure this family was never invisible again. Somewhere in Willowbrook, a mother was missing, and time was running out. Evelyn spent the next morning digging through medical records, determined to understand the full picture of Marlowe Brennan's life. What she discovered broke her heart piece by piece. Marlowe had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder 7 years ago. With proper treatment and medication, she'd been stable, working as a teacher's aide at Willowbrook Elementary. But then Thomas lost his job when the factory closed. Their insurance disappeared overnight. Marlowe's medication became too expensive. Doctor visits became impossible. The records showed Marlowe had tried. She'd called free clinics. She'd applied for assistance programs. But the waiting lists were months long, and the system moved at a pace that didn't match the urgency of her deteriorating mental health. Then came the visits from Child Protective Services. 3 times over 2 years, someone had reported concerns about the Brennan family. Each time, a caseworker had knocked on their door, looked around, asked questions, and left. Each report ended the same way. No immediate danger observed. Case closed. But who had reported them? And why hadn't anyone looked deeper? Evelyn found her answer in a note attached to the last report. Multiple anonymous calls received regarding possible neglect. Upon investigation, children appeared healthy. Mother cooperative but anxious. Recommend follow-up in 6 months. But that follow-up never happened because Thomas was arrested, and the file was marked as a low priority. Frustrated, Evelyn decided to visit the free clinic Marlowe had contacted. Maybe someone there remembered her. The Willowbrook Community Health Center sat in a converted house on the poor side of town. Inside, the waiting room was packed with people who'd fallen through the same cracks as the Brennans. At the front desk, a tired but kind-looking woman greeted her. "I'm looking for information about a patient. Marlowe Brennan." The woman's expression shifted immediately. "Are you family?" "I'm a doctor at Willowbrook Hospital. I'm treating her children. It's urgent." After a brief discussion, the woman called for Nora Whitfield, a volunteer nurse who'd been working there for 15 years. Nora was in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that had seen humanity at its worst and best. "Marlo," Nora said sadly when Evelyn explained the situation. "Yes, I remember her. She came here about 4 months ago, pregnant and desperate. She was trying so hard to hold everything together, but I could see she was struggling." "Did she explain her situation?" "She was terrified," Nora said, her voice dropping. "She said people from social services had visited before, and she was afraid they'd take Lily away if they knew how bad things had gotten. She said she'd rather live in darkness than lose her daughter. I tried to convince her to accept help, but she just disappeared. I called the number she gave me several times. No answer." Evelyn felt anger rising. The system scared her into hiding. "The system fails people like Marlo every day," Nora said quietly. "We try our best, but there are so many and so few resources. I've thought about her often, wondered if she was okay. Now I know she wasn't." Nora paused, then added, "There's something else. Marlo mentioned her mother lived in Cedar Hills, about 2 hours from here. She said they hadn't spoken in years because of old arguments, but she wondered if maybe, if things got really bad, her mother might help. Her name was Eleanor, I think. Eleanor Brennan. A grandmother who might not even know her grandchildren were in danger." Evelyn made a mental note to find this woman. That evening, back at the hospital, Evelyn sat with Lily during dinner. The little girl pushed food around her plate, eating only when Evelyn gently encouraged her. "Lily, I visited a nice lady today who knew your mommy. Her name is Nora." Lily looked up. "The nurse lady. Mommy liked her. She was nice to us." "She was. And she told me your mommy was very brave, trying to take care of you and get help at the same time." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I miss Mommy. Why can't anyone find her?" "We're trying, sweetheart. We have people looking everywhere." Evelyn held the child's small hand. "Lily, is there anything else you can tell me about your mommy? Anything that might help us?" Lily thought hard, her young face scrunched in concentration. Then her eyes widened slightly. "Dr. Evelyn, Mommy had a special book. She wrote in it every night. She kept it hidden under our mattress so nobody would find it. She said it was important. She said if anything ever happened, someone should read it." Evelyn's pulse quickened. "A diary?" "I think so. She called it her truth book. She said one day someone would listen to her truth." A diary. Hidden in that abandoned house. It might contain everything they needed to understand what happened to Marlo Brennan, who this Mr. Vance person was, and where Marlo might have gone. Evelyn stood quickly. "Lily, you just gave me exactly what I needed. Thank you, brave girl." As soon as Lily was settled for the night, Evelyn called Sergeant Mullins. "I need to go back to the Brennan house, tonight. There's something there we missed." "It's late, Doc. Can't it wait until morning?" "No," Evelyn said firmly. "Every minute counts. Marlo left a diary. It might tell us where she went." There was a pause. "I'll meet you there in 30 minutes. As Evelyn drove through the dark roads toward the abandoned house, she felt the weight of everything pressing down. Somewhere out there, a mother was still missing, and hidden beneath a dirty mattress might be the key to finding her. The house looked even more haunting at night. Evelyn's flashlight beam cut through the darkness as she and Sergeant Mullins entered the abandoned home. Every shadow seemed to hold secrets. Every creak of the floorboards a whisper of the family that had suffered here in silence. "The mattresses are over here," Mullins said, directing his light toward the main room. Evelyn knelt beside the larger mattress, the one Marlo must have used. She lifted it carefully, mindful that somewhere beneath might be the answers they desperately needed. At first nothing, just bare floor and dust. But then her fingers touched something wedged between a loose floorboard, a worn notebook with a faded blue cover. "Found it," Evelyn breathed. She sat on the floor, opened the diary, and began to read by flashlight. Marlo's handwriting was neat at first, from years ago when life still held hope. But as the pages progressed, the writing became shakier, more desperate. January 2023. "Thomas got laid off today. He's trying to stay positive, but I can see the fear in his eyes. We'll figure it out, we always do." March 2023. "Can't afford my medication anymore. I'm trying to manage without it. Have to be strong for Lily. She's so young. She shouldn't have to see me struggle. August 2023. A man named Vance came by today. He said he could get Thomas work, but Thomas said no. He said it wasn't legal. Vance got angry. I'm scared of him. Evelyn's hands tightened on the diary. So Mr. Vance was real. October 2023. Thomas was arrested. They say he stole from the warehouse, but he didn't. Vance set him up because Thomas refused to help with his illegal business. No one believes us. I tried to tell the police, but they said I was just a desperate wife making excuses. Now I'm alone with Lily, and I don't know what to do. The entries grew more heartbreaking. Marlo described trying to get help from neighbors, only to have doors closed in her face. She wrote about calling social services, terrified they'd take Lily but desperate enough to try anyway. She documented each visit from caseworkers, her relief when they left without removing her daughter, but also her disappointment that they didn't see how much she was drowning. April 2024. Found out I'm pregnant. I should be happy, but I'm terrified. How can I bring a baby into this, but I can't give up? Lily needs me. This baby needs me. June 2024. Tried reaching out to neighbors again. Mrs. Peterson saw my bruises from falling in the dark house and asked if I was okay. I tried to tell her everything, but she just said, "We all have hard times," and walked away. I drew a map of places I might go if things get worse. Somewhere to hide if Vance comes back. Evelyn stopped. A map? She flipped through the pages frantically until she found it sketched on the inside back cover. A rough drawing of Willowbrook with an X marked on a building at the edge of town. Next to it, one word. Shelter. Mullins, look at this. The sergeant studied the map. That's the old St. Mary's shelter. It closed down years ago, but homeless folks still use it sometimes. July 2024. The baby is coming soon. I'm so scared. What if something goes wrong? What if I can't take care of 2 children alone? I keep thinking about my mother, Eleanor. We haven't spoken since I married Thomas. She thought I was making a mistake. Maybe she was right, but I wonder if she'd help if she knew about Lily and the baby. She lives in Cedar Hills. Maybe one day I'll be brave enough to call her. The final entries were from just days ago. Baby came tonight, no hospital, no help, just me and Lily. Oliver. I named him Oliver after Thomas's father. He's so tiny, so perfect, but I'm not well. Something's wrong. Need to get help. We'll go to town tomorrow. Lily's strong. She'll watch him. I'll be back by dark. The last entry, written in shaky letters that barely stayed on the lines. If anyone reads this, please know I tried. I tried so hard. I love my babies more than anything. If something happens to me, find Eleanor Brennan in Cedar Hills. She's their grandmother. Please don't let my children disappear like I did. Evelyn closed the diary, tears streaming down her face. Marlo hadn't given up. She'd fought until the very end, documenting everything, leaving breadcrumbs for someone to follow. She went to that shelter, Evelyn said urgently. We need to go there, now. Doc, it's midnight. Let's wait for daylight. Marlo Brennan has been missing for 4 days. If she made it to that shelter, she might still be there. She might be hurt. She might be dying. Evelyn stood, clutching the diary. We don't have time to wait. Mullins nodded slowly. All right, let's go. As they drove toward the abandoned shelter, Evelyn reread the map entry. Something about it nagged at her. Marlo had planned for the worst. She'd marked a hiding place. But had she made it there? And if so, why hadn't she come back for her children? The answer, Evelyn feared, would be something she wasn't prepared to face. The old St. Mary's shelter loomed before them in the darkness, a 3-story brick building with boarded windows and a sagging roof. Graffiti covered the lower walls, and the front door hung on broken hinges. Stay close, Mullins warned, drawing his flashlight. This place isn't safe. They entered cautiously. The smell of dampness and decay filled the air. In the main hall, they found evidence of recent occupation. Sleeping bags, empty food containers, makeshift fires in metal barrels. But no people. The building felt abandoned, as if everyone had scattered when they heard footsteps approaching. Hello? Evelyn called out. We're not here to cause trouble, we're looking for someone. A woman named Marlo Brennan. She's sick, she needs help. Silence answered them. They searched room after room, finding only shadows and the remnants of desperate lives. Evelyn's hope began to fade with each empty space they discovered. Then, on the second floor, they found something that made Evelyn's heart race. In a small corner room, a blanket was wadded up as if someone had left in a hurry. Next to it sat a small bag containing a few personal items. Mullins picked through them carefully. Women's items, basic supplies. He pulled out a tattered photograph. "Look at this." The photo showed a young woman with kind eyes holding a little girl. On the back, written in fading ink, "Marlowe and Lily, age 2. "She was here," Evelyn whispered. "We just missed her." They continued searching until they reached the ground floor again. As they prepared to leave, an elderly woman emerged from the shadows near the back entrance. She wore layers of worn clothing and carried all her possessions in 2 plastic bags. "You looking for the sick lady?" the woman asked, her voice raspy. Evelyn rushed forward. "Yes, do you know where she is?" "She was here a couple days ago, real sick. Kept talking about her babies, saying she needed to get back to them. She had a fever. Wasn't making much sense." "Where did she go?" The woman shrugged. "Woke up yesterday morning and she was gone. Left that bag behind. Some of the folks here said they heard sirens during the night. Maybe someone called for help. Maybe she wandered off. Hard to say." Mullins was already on his radio. "Dispatch, I need a check on all emergency calls from the St. Mary's area over the past 48 hours. Any pickups? Any ambulance runs?" They waited tensely. Finally, dispatch crackled back. "We've got 1 ambulance call from 2 nights ago. Female, 30s, found disoriented on Market Street near the shelter. Transported to County General." County General, across town. Evelyn and Mullins exchanged glances and ran for the car. During the drive, Evelyn clutched Marlowe's diary against her chest. They were so close. But 4 days without proper medical care. 4 days in Marlowe's fragile mental state. What condition would they find her in? At County General's emergency department, Evelyn's medical credentials got them quick access to records. A nurse checked the system and nodded. "Yes, Marlowe Brennan. She's here. Admitted to the psychiatric unit for evaluation. She was found confused and dehydrated. I need to see her. Now." The psychiatric unit was on the 5th floor behind locked doors. The attending physician, Dr. Raymond Chen, met them outside Marlowe's room. "She's stable physically, but her mental state is very fragile. The dehydration and stress triggered a severe episode. She's been asking for her children constantly, but she can't seem to remember what happened clearly. One moment she's lucid, the next she's lost in confusion. Her children are safe," Evelyn said. "Can I see her?" Dr. Chen hesitated. "She needs rest, but maybe seeing a friendly face will help ground her." He opened the door. Inside, Marlowe Brennan sat on the bed, thin and pale, staring out the window. She was younger than Evelyn expected, probably only in her early 30s, but hardship had aged her. Her hands twisted nervously in her lap. Evelyn approached slowly. "Marlowe? My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter. I'm taking care of your children." Marlowe's head snapped up, her eyes suddenly sharp and focused. "Lily, Oliver, are they okay? Please tell me they're okay." "They're safe. They're at Willowbrook Hospital. Lily is a very brave girl. She brought Oliver to us in time." Marlowe's face crumpled, tears streaming down. "My baby girl, she's only 6. She shouldn't have had to." Her voice broke into sobs. Evelyn sat beside her, taking her hand gently. "You tried to get help. You did everything you could." "Nobody listened," Marlowe whispered. "I screamed for help in every way I knew how, but nobody heard me." "I hear you now," Evelyn said firmly, "and I'm going to make sure you and your children are never invisible again." Marlowe's condition improved over the next day, but Dr. Chen warned it would be weeks before she could leave the psychiatric unit. Evelyn stayed as long as she could, listening to Marlowe piece together the fragments of her story. "Thomas didn't do what they said," Marlowe insisted during a moment of clarity. "That man Vance, he threatened us. He wanted Thomas to help move stolen goods through the warehouse. When Thomas refused, Vance planted evidence, made it look like Thomas was the thief." "Did you tell the police?" "They didn't believe me, said I was just a wife defending her husband." Marlowe's voice broke. After Thomas was arrested, Vance came to our house. He said if I caused trouble, things would get worse. I was so scared. That's why I stopped reaching out. That's why I tried to disappear. Evelyn felt rage building inside her. This family had been terrorized, abandoned, and then blamed for their own suffering. What about social services? The visits they made? Marlowe looked down at her hands. I was terrified each time they came, terrified they'd take Lily. So I cleaned up as best I could, acted like everything was fine. And they believed me because it was easier than actually helping. She looked up, tears streaming. I should have told the truth, but I was so scared of losing her. Back at Willowbrook Hospital, Evelyn found Rebecca Langford reviewing files in a conference room. The young social worker looked exhausted and guilt-ridden. I found Marlowe, Evelyn said without preamble. She's at County General. Dehydrated, traumatized, but alive. Rebecca's face showed genuine relief. Thank God. And the children are safe. No thanks to your system. Evelyn couldn't keep the anger from her voice. Rebecca, I read the case files. 3 visits over 2 years, and nobody saw what was really happening? Rebecca's professional composure cracked. Dr. Carter, you have to understand, we're overwhelmed. I have 42 active cases. 42 families, all desperate, all needing help. We're trained to look for immediate physical danger. The Brennan house was poor but clean. The child seemed healthy. Marlowe was cooperative. There were no obvious signs. No obvious signs. Evelyn slapped Marlowe's diary on the table. This woman documented everything. She called for help. She reached out to neighbors, to clinics, to anyone who would listen. She drew maps planning where to hide if things got worse. Those weren't signs? Or were they just too inconvenient to see? Rebecca picked up the diary with shaking hands. As she read, tears began to fall. I closed this case. 8 months ago, I was the one who marked it as low priority when Thomas was arrested. I thought Marlowe would be better off without him. I thought the situation would stabilize. She looked up, devastated. I was wrong. Yes, you were. Dr. Carter, you don't understand the pressure we're under. Budget cuts, impossible caseloads, families falling through cracks every single day. I understand perfectly, Evelyn said coldly. I understand that a 6-year-old delivered her own baby brother because everyone in a position to help decided it wasn't their problem. Dr. Holmwood entered the room, her face grim. Evelyn, we need to talk. There's been a development. In Holmwood's office, Evelyn learned that Thomas Brennan's case had been reviewed. New evidence proved he'd been telling the truth. He was innocent. And tomorrow, he'd be released from county jail. That's good news, Evelyn said, confused by Holmwood's serious expression. It's complicated. Thomas wants custody of his children. He has legal rights as their father. But social services is questioning whether he's equipped to care for them after 8 months in jail with no job, no home, and no support system. So what happens to Lily and Oliver? Rebecca recommended Lily be placed in a temporary foster home while everything gets sorted out. It's standard procedure. No. Evelyn stood abruptly. That little girl has been through enough. She doesn't need another strange place with strange people. She needs stability. Evelyn, you can't. I can. And I will. I'll take temporary custody if I have to. Holmwood shook her head sadly. It doesn't work that way. You know that. The system has rules. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at the hospital to find Lily's bed empty. A nurse explained gently that social services had collected her early that morning for placement. Evelyn felt something break inside her. She'd promised Lily she wouldn't leave, and now that little girl was gone, thinking Evelyn had abandoned her just like everyone else. She found Lily at the temporary foster home, a well-meaning but institutional facility. The little girl sat alone in a corner, clutching the stuffed bear, staring at nothing. When she saw Evelyn, something flickered in her eyes. Hope, then pain. You said you wouldn't leave, Lily whispered. Evelyn knelt down, taking both small hands in hers. And I haven't. I'm here. And I'm going to fix this, Lily. I promise you I'm going to bring your family back together. But even as she said it, Evelyn wondered if it was a promise she could keep. That night, Evelyn received special permission to stay with Lily at the foster home. The facility director, Mrs. Carmen Martinez, was a kind woman who understood that sometimes rules needed to bend for a child's well-being. She hasn't spoken to anyone since she arrived, Mrs. Martinez said quietly. Just sits in that corner holding that bear. But when you walked in, I saw something change in her eyes. Evelyn found Lily in the common room, still clutching her stuffed bear. The other children played nearby, but Lily remained apart, lost in her own world of pain. May I sit with you? Evelyn asked gently. Lily nodded slightly. Evelyn lowered herself to the floor, her old knees protesting, but she didn't care. She'd sit on broken glass if it meant reaching this child. They sat in silence for several minutes. Then Lily spoke, her voice barely audible. Mommy used to sing to me when I was scared. She said music makes the scary things smaller. What did she sing? A song about stars, how they shine even in the darkest night. Evelyn felt her throat tighten. She knew that song. She'd sung it to her own daughter, Helena, many years ago, before medicine consumed her life, before the distance grew too wide to cross. I know that song, Evelyn said softly. Would you like me to sing it with you? For the first time since entering the foster home, Lily looked directly at Evelyn. In those young eyes, Evelyn saw a desperate hope fighting against learned disappointment. They sang together, quietly, in that corner of the common room. As they sang, Lily leaned closer, finally resting her head against Evelyn's shoulder. The old doctor wrapped her arm around the small child, and something inside her chest, something that had been frozen for years, began to thaw. Dr. Evelyn, Lily whispered when the song ended. Why does everyone leave? The question hit Evelyn like a physical blow. She thought of Helena, of all the school plays she'd missed, all the bedtime stories she'd been too tired to read, all the moments she'd sacrificed for her career. She'd told herself it was for a good reason, that saving lives mattered more than individual moments. But Helena had needed her mother, and Evelyn hadn't been there. Sometimes, Evelyn said carefully, adults make mistakes. We think we're doing the right thing, but we're actually hurting the people we love most. Your mommy didn't want to leave you, she was trying to save you. Your daddy didn't want to go to jail. Someone else made that happen. And me. Her voice cracked. I had a daughter once. Her name was Helena, and I wasn't there for her when she needed me most. Lily looked up. Where is she now? She's gone, sweetheart. She passed away 3 years ago, and I never got to tell her how sorry I was. Is that why you're sad sometimes? I can see it in your eyes, the same sadness Mommy has. Children, Evelyn thought, see more clearly than adults ever give them credit for. Yes, that's why. But Lily, I want you to know something important. When I look at you, I see a chance to do something I couldn't do before. I see a chance to be there for someone who needs me. And I'm not going to waste that chance, do you understand? Lily nodded slowly. You're not going to leave? I'm not going to leave. They sat together until Lily's eyes grew heavy with sleep. Mrs. Martinez appeared with blankets, and they made a small nest in the corner. As Lily drifted off, Evelyn stroked her hair gently and made a silent promise to Helena. I failed you, but I won't fail this child. The next morning brought news. Thomas Brennan would be released that afternoon. He wanted to meet his children immediately. The court had scheduled an emergency hearing for the following week to determine custody arrangements. But there was more. Sergeant Mullins had found Eleanor Brennan's address in Cedar Hills. Evelyn had a decision to make. Should she wait for the court process to unfold, letting lawyers and judges decide this family's fate? Or should she take matters into her own hands? She thought of Lily's question, why does everyone leave? Then she thought of Marlowe's diary entry, find Eleanor Brennan in Cedar Hills. Evelyn stood, her decision made. She would find Eleanor herself. She would reunite this family, system or no system. She'd learned years ago that sometimes doing the right thing meant bending the rules. Mrs. Martinez, I need to take a trip, but I'll be back tomorrow. Can you make sure Lily knows I haven't abandoned her? Where are you going? Evelyn grabbed her coat and Marlowe's diary. To find a grandmother who doesn't know her grandchildren need her. As she walked to her car, Evelyn felt something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Real, driving purpose. Not the clinical detachment of treating symptoms, but the fierce determination to heal a family's wounds. Cedar Hills was 2 hours away, and somewhere in that small town lived a woman who held the key to making this family whole again. The drive to Cedar Hills felt endless. Evelyn's mind churned with doubts. What if Eleanor refused to help? What if she blamed Marlowe for the family's troubles? What if this entire trip was a waste of precious time? Her phone rang. It was Rebecca Langford. "Dr. Carter, where are you? Thomas Brennan was just released. He's demanding to see his children immediately, and he's furious that Lily was placed in foster care. He's threatening legal action against everyone involved." Evelyn's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Tell him I'm working on a solution." "What solution? You can't just—" Evelyn ended the call. She couldn't afford distractions now. Cedar Hills appeared through the morning mist, a small town with white church steeples and neat houses. Following the address Mullins had found, Evelyn pulled up to a modest home with a carefully tended garden. Roses bloomed along a white picket fence. Everything about the house spoke of order, control, tradition. Evelyn sat in her car for a moment, gathering courage. She'd faced countless medical emergencies, life and death decisions, devastating diagnoses. But this felt harder than all of them combined. She walked to the door and knocked. The woman who answered was in her early 70s, with silver hair pulled back in a bun and eyes that held both warmth and wariness. She wore a simple dress and an expression that suggested she didn't appreciate unexpected visitors. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Eleanor Brennan?" "Yes. Who are you?" "My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter. I'm from Willowbrook Hospital. I need to speak with you about your daughter, Marlowe." Eleanor's face hardened instantly. "I don't have a daughter." The words hit like a slap. Evelyn had expected resistance, but not outright denial. "Mrs. Brennan, please. Marlowe is in the hospital. She's very sick. And her children, your grandchildren, they need family." "I said I don't have a daughter." Eleanor began to close the door. Evelyn put her hand against it. 5 years ago, you and Marlowe had an argument. She married Thomas against your wishes. You told her she was making a mistake. You cut off contact. But Mrs. Brennan, your granddaughter is 6 years old. Her name is Lily. She's been living in a house without electricity, taking care of her baby brother because there was no one else. Is your pride really worth more than their lives? Eleanor's face paled, but her jaw remained set. "I don't know what you want from me, but—" Evelyn pulled out Marlowe's diary and thrust it into Eleanor's hands. "Read this. Then tell me you don't have a daughter. Tell me you don't have grandchildren who desperately need you." Eleanor stared at the worn notebook, her hands trembling slightly. "Please," Evelyn said, her voice breaking. "I failed my own daughter. I wasn't there when she needed me, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't let pride destroy what's left of your family." Eleanor clutched the diary but said nothing. "I'm staying at the Cedar Hills Inn," Evelyn continued. "Room 12. If you change your mind, you know where to find me." She turned and walked back to her car, every step heavy with defeat. As she drove away, she saw Eleanor in the rearview mirror, still standing in the doorway, holding the diary. That night, alone in her hotel room, Evelyn felt the weight of her failures crushing down. Maybe she couldn't save this family. Maybe some wounds were too deep to heal. Maybe she was just a foolish old woman trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. Her phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Martinez. "Lily cried herself to sleep asking for you." Evelyn buried her face in her hands and wept. Evelyn woke at 3 in the morning to her phone ringing. For a moment, disoriented in the unfamiliar hotel room, she fumbled for it in the darkness. "Dr. Carter?" The voice was thick with tears. "This is Eleanor Brennan. I'm so sorry to call so late, but I couldn't wait." Evelyn sat up instantly, her heart pounding. "Mrs. Brennan." I read the diary. All of it. Every word my daughter wrote. Eleanor's voice broke. "Oh God, what have I done? What have I done to my family?" "Mrs. Brennan." She tried to reach out to me. "Did you see that entry? From 2 years ago. She called my number. I saw it was her, and I didn't answer. I was still so angry about Thomas, about her choices. I told myself she made her bed and had to lie in it. Eleanor was sobbing now. But she wasn't lying in a bed. She was dying. She was drowning, and I turned my back on her. Evelyn's throat tightened. You didn't know how bad things were. I should have known. I'm her mother. I should have swallowed my pride and checked on her. Instead, I let 5 years pass. 5 years while my daughter suffered. 5 years while my granddaughter was born and grew up, and I never even met her. What kind of person does that? The kind who made a mistake, Evelyn said gently. The kind who can still make it right. There was a long silence. Then Eleanor spoke, her voice stronger now, determined. Dr. Carter, I need to see my granddaughter. I need to see Lily. Tomorrow. Please, I don't care what it takes. I need to meet her. Evelyn felt hope surge through her exhaustion. Are you sure? This won't be easy. Lily's been hurt by so many people, she might not trust you at first. I don't care if it takes months or years. That little girl is my blood. She's my daughter's child. And I will spend every remaining day of my life making up for the time I've lost. They talked until dawn, Eleanor asking question after question about Lily, about Oliver, about Marlowe's condition. Evelyn watched the sunrise through the hotel window and felt something shift inside her. This was why she became a doctor, not just to treat bodies but to heal families, to give people second chances. She thought of Helena, of the letter her daughter had left. Don't let guilt consume you, Mom. Honor my memory by living fully. This was how she'd honor Helena, by helping Eleanor get the second chance Evelyn never had. Mrs. Brennan, I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock. We'll drive back to Willowbrook together. Thank you, Dr. Carter. Thank you for not giving up on us. As Evelyn packed her bag, her phone buzzed with multiple missed calls and voicemails. Thomas demanding answers. Rebecca warning about legal complications. Dr. Holmwood urging caution. But Evelyn ignored them all. She'd spent 3 years in retirement, hiding from the world, drowning in guilt over Helena. But Lily needed her. This family needed her. And for the first time since her daughter's passing, Evelyn felt truly alive. At 8 o'clock sharp, Eleanor emerged from her house carrying a small suitcase. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set with determination. She climbed into Evelyn's car and said simply, "Let's bring my granddaughter home." As they drove toward Willowbrook, Eleanor clutched Marlowe's diary in her lap like a sacred text. Dr. Carter, whatever it takes, legal battles, custody hearings, anything. I want my grandchildren. Both of them. They belong with family. Evelyn smiled, the first genuine smile she'd felt in days. Then let's make that happen. The road ahead was still uncertain. Thomas would complicate things. The courts would take time. But for the first time, Evelyn believed this family had a real chance at healing. They were 2 hours from Willowbrook. 2 hours from reuniting a grandmother with the granddaughter she'd never met. 2 hours from beginning to rebuild what had been broken. The foster home's common room fell silent when Eleanor and Evelyn entered. Lily sat in her usual corner, the stuffed bear in her arms, drawing pictures with crayons Mrs. Martinez had given her. "That's her?" Eleanor whispered, her hand pressed to her heart. "That's my granddaughter?" Evelyn nodded. "Remember, she's been through terrible things. She might not understand who you are at first. Be patient." They approached slowly. Lily looked up, her eyes immediately finding Evelyn. A small smile crossed her face, but it faded when she saw the stranger. "Lily," Evelyn said gently, kneeling beside the child, "I brought someone very special to meet you. This is your grandmother, your mommy's mommy. Her name is Eleanor." Lily studied Eleanor with those 2 wise eyes. "Mommy said you were mad at her." Eleanor's breath caught. She knelt down, tears already streaming. "I was, and I was so wrong. I should have been there for your mommy. I should have been there for you, but I'm here now and I'm never going away again." "Everybody says that," Lily said quietly, "but they always leave." Eleanor reached into her bag and pulled out a photograph, yellowed with age. "This is your mommy when she was 6 years old. The same age you are now, see? She had your same eyes, your same smile." Lily took the photo carefully, studying it. "She looks happy here." She was. And she'll be happy again. We'll all be happy again. Together. Eleanor opened her arms slowly, not forcing, just offering. Would it be okay if I gave you a hug? Lily hesitated for a long moment. Then, so slowly it seemed time had stopped, she put down her bear and stepped forward into her grandmother's embrace. Eleanor held her as if she were made of glass, sobbing openly. My precious girl. My beautiful, brave girl. I'm so sorry it took me so long to find you. The moment was shattered by voices in the hallway. Thomas Brennan burst into the room, followed by Mrs. Martinez and Sergeant Mullins. He was thin, worn down by 8 months of wrongful imprisonment, but his eyes blazed with desperate determination. Lily. He rushed forward, but Lily shrank back, pressing against Eleanor. She didn't recognize this haggard man. Thomas stopped, devastated. Baby girl, it's Daddy, I'm home. Daddy. Lily's voice was tiny, confused. Thomas pulled out the stuffed rabbit Evelyn remembered from earlier, the one Lily used to love. Remember Mr. Hoppy? You used to take him everywhere. I kept him safe for you while I was away. Recognition flickered in Lily's eyes. Daddy? She took a tentative step forward. The reunion was painful and beautiful at once. Thomas held his daughter, 8 months of agony pouring out. Eleanor watched, and Evelyn saw the moment the grandmother's face shifted from distrust to understanding. This broken man loved his children fiercely. Mr. Brennan, Eleanor said carefully. I'm Eleanor, Marlowe's mother. Thomas tensed. You're the one who abandoned her. And you're the one who went to prison, Eleanor shot back, then caught herself. I'm sorry. That was unfair. I know you were wrongfully convicted. They stared at each other across the room, years of family dysfunction and pain between them. Then Lily's small voice cut through the tension. Please don't fight. Please. I just want my family back. Evelyn stepped forward. We all want the same thing. The custody hearing is scheduled for next week. If we fight each other, we all lose, and so do these children. But if we work together, I want my kids, Thomas said firmly. And I want my grandchildren, Eleanor responded. Then let's find a way for everyone to win, Evelyn said. Thomas, you're their father. Eleanor, you have resources and stability. Together you could give Lily and Oliver what they need. Over the next hour they talked, sometimes heated, sometimes tearful, but always focused on the children. Rebecca arrived with paperwork. Nora from the clinic offered to testify about Marlowe's struggles. Even Sergeant Mullins agreed to present evidence about Mr. Vance and the setup that sent Thomas to jail. As the sun set, a plan began to form. They would present a united front at the custody hearing. Eleanor would provide the home. Thomas would be present as an active father. Marlowe would have supervised visits as she recovered. 1 week, Evelyn said. 1 week until the judge decides everything. Thomas Brennan stood outside the psychiatric unit at County General, his hands shaking. 8 months in jail had aged him. His shoulders slumped with the weight of all he'd lost. Evelyn stood beside him, offering silent support. I don't know if I can face her, Thomas whispered. She needed me and I wasn't there. Some husband I turned out to be. She doesn't blame you, Evelyn said gently. She wrote about you in her diary. She never stopped believing in your innocence. Dr. Chen opened the door to Marlowe's room. She sat by the window, looking stronger than before, but still fragile. When she saw Thomas, her hand flew to her mouth. Thomas? Her voice broke. Is it really you? He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. They held each other, both crying, 8 months of separation and suffering flowing out in that embrace. I'm so sorry, Thomas sobbed. I should have fought harder. I should have protected you and Lily. You did fight. You told the truth and no one listened. Marlowe pulled back, cupping his face. But you're free now. And our babies. Thomas, are they really okay? Lily's so brave. She saved Oliver's life. She's just like you, stronger than anyone gives her credit for. Over the next days, the pieces slowly came together. Eleanor opened her home to prepare for the children. She bought children's books, set up bedrooms, installed safety gates. Every action was a form of penance, a way to make up for lost time. But Eleanor faced harsh judgment from her church community. People whispered when she walked by. Taking in her daughter's children after all these years of silence? What kind of woman abandons her family? Mrs. Garrett from the church council confronted Eleanor after Sunday service. You've always been so upright, Eleanor. Such high standards. And now we find out your daughter was living in squalor while you did nothing. Eleanor stood tall, though the words cut deep. You're right. I was proud and stubborn, and my family suffered for it. But I'm done hiding from my mistakes. Those children are my responsibility, and I'll face any judgment to give them the home they deserve. Thomas faced his own reckoning. He'd lost his job, his home, his savings during the wrongful imprisonment. He had nothing to offer his children except love. Late one night, Eleanor found him sitting on her porch, head in his hands. She handed him coffee and sat beside him. I can't give them what they need, Thomas said bitterly. No job, no home. What kind of father am I? The kind who never gave up, Eleanor replied. The kind who refused to do something illegal, even when it would have been easier. The kind my daughter chose to marry. And Marlowe was always a good judge of character. Thomas looked at her surprised. I thought you hated me. I hated that she chose you over me. But reading her diary, I understand now. You loved her truly. You were willing to sacrifice everything to protect your family. That's the kind of father these children need. Meanwhile, Rebecca Langford made her own difficult choice. She wrote a detailed report documenting all the systemic failures that had led to the Brennan family crisis. She knew it might cost her job, but she submitted it anyway to the State Oversight Committee. Her supervisor called her into his office, furious. You're making the entire department look incompetent. We were incompetent, Rebecca said calmly. And if admitting that costs me my career, it's worth it. Because maybe the next Marlowe Brennan will actually get help before it's too late. 3 days before the hearing, they all gathered at Eleanor's house. Thomas, Eleanor, Evelyn, Rebecca, Nora, even Sergeant Mullins. They reviewed their testimonies, organized evidence, prepared for every possible question. Lily sat in the middle of it all, watching the adults work together. Are we going to be a family again? She asked. Eleanor knelt beside her. Yes, sweetheart, whatever it takes. Thomas nodded. Your mom, your brother, you, me, and Grandma Eleanor. We're going to make this work. Promise? Lily whispered. They all looked at each other, knowing that tomorrow everything hung in the balance. Promise, they said together. The evening before the custody hearing, Eleanor's house felt both hopeful and heavy with anticipation. Tomorrow, a judge would decide the fate of this fractured family. Tonight, they could only prepare their hearts. Evelyn arrived at sunset, finding Eleanor in the kitchen preparing dinner with nervous energy. 2 bedrooms upstairs were ready. One painted soft yellow for Lily, another in gentle blue for baby Oliver. Toys sat waiting. Books lined small shelves. Everything a child could need. What if it's not enough? Eleanor whispered, her hands trembling as she chopped vegetables. What if the judge thinks I'm too old? What if they see my years of absence as unforgivable? Evelyn placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Then you'll appeal, and keep fighting. That's what mothers do, and grandmothers. Thomas arrived an hour later with their lawyer, Janet Oakes, a sharp woman who specialized in family reunification cases. She'd taken the case pro bono after reading about the Brennans in the local newspaper. I'll be honest, Janet said as they all sat around Eleanor's dining table. The court will scrutinize everything. Your history, Thomas's imprisonment, even though you were innocent, and Eleanor's 5 years of absence. But we have something powerful on our side. What's that? Thomas asked. The truth, and the fact that you're all here, together, fighting for these children. That speaks louder than any perfect record ever could. After dinner, they drove to County General, so Thomas could see Marlowe one more time before the hearing. She'd improved significantly, her medications properly balanced, her mind clearer. When Thomas entered with Lily, Marlowe's face lit up. My baby girl, Marlowe breathed, opening her arms. Lily ran to her mother, and they held each other for a long moment. Thomas joined them, and for a brief, precious time, they were a family again. Mommy, tomorrow the judge decides if we can all be together, Lily said. Are you scared? Marlowe stroked her daughter's hair. A little. But you know what? I'm more hopeful than I've been in years. because I'm not alone anymore. Grandma Eleanor is here. Daddy's free. And Dr. Evelyn made sure everyone heard our story. Dr. Chen approached. Mrs. Brennan, I've written a letter to the court. I'm recommending continued treatment, but with a strong prognosis for recovery. You've shown remarkable progress. Back at Eleanor's house, Evelyn found Thomas sitting on the porch, staring at the stars. She joined him in the quiet. I keep thinking about that moment when Lily didn't recognize me, Thomas said. 8 months. I missed 8 months of her life. Oliver was born and I wasn't there. Marlo suffered and I couldn't help her. You can't change the past, Evelyn said. But tomorrow you can help shape the future. What if the judge says no? What if they decide I'm not fit to be near my own children? Then we appeal and we keep fighting. But Thomas, I've watched you this past week. You've shown up for every meeting. You've put aside your pride to work with Eleanor. You've held Marlo when she needed strength. That's what being a father looks like. Inside, Eleanor tucked Lily into the guest bedroom, the same room that would become hers if tomorrow went well. The little girl looked so small in the big bed, clutching her stuffed bear. Grandma Eleanor, Lily whispered, what if the judge is mean? Then we'll show her kindness until she sees who we really are. Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed. Lily, I need to tell you something. I made terrible mistakes. I wasn't there for your mommy when she needed me most. But I promise you, I will be there for you. Every day, every moment, for the rest of my life. Lily reached for her grandmother's hand. I'm glad you found us. So am I, precious girl, so am I. As Eleanor turned off the light, Lily called out one more time. Grandma, can we sing the star song? The one Mommy taught me? Through tears, Eleanor sang the lullaby she'd once sung to Marlo, the same song Evelyn had sung with Lily at the foster home. 3 generations connected by music and hope. Downstairs, Evelyn prepared to leave. Tomorrow would change everything. Thank you, Eleanor said at the door, for not giving up on us. Evelyn smiled. Thank you for giving me a second chance to get things right. As she drove home, Evelyn thought of Helena. I'm doing this for you, sweetheart, making the world a little better, one family at a time. Tomorrow, the truth would be heard. Tomorrow, justice would be served. Tomorrow, everything would be decided. The courtroom was smaller than Evelyn expected. Judge Margaret Thornton presided from the bench, her silver hair pulled back, her face unreadable. She'd heard thousands of cases in her 30 years on the bench, but something about this one had drawn significant attention. Local news cameras waited outside. The state's attorney presented first, arguing that neither Thomas nor Eleanor had demonstrated sufficient stability. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan has no employment, no residence. Mrs. Brennan abandoned her daughter for 5 years. These children deserve better than a broken family. Janet Oakes stood, her voice clear and strong. Your Honor, this family isn't broken. It was broken by a system that failed them at every turn. We're here to show you the truth. Rebecca testified first, her voice shaking but honest. I closed the Brennan case. I marked it as low priority. I didn't look deep enough, and a family nearly died because of it. But, Your Honor, these people before you, they didn't give up. They fought their way back to each other. Nora from the clinic described Marlo's desperate attempts to get help. Sergeant Mullins presented evidence about the false charges against Thomas and the criminal named Vance, who'd orchestrated everything. Dr. Chen testified about Marlo's progress and strong prognosis. Then Evelyn took the stand. She held Marlo's diary, her hands steady despite her racing heart. Your Honor, I've been a physician for 40 years. I've seen suffering in every form, but nothing prepared me for what this family endured. She opened the diary. Marlo Brennan documented everything. Every attempt to get help, every door closed in her face, every moment of desperation. This wasn't neglect. This was a mother fighting alone against impossible odds. The judge leaned forward. Dr. Carter, you're retired. Why did you involve yourself so deeply in this case? Evelyn's voice caught. Because I failed my own daughter. I wasn't there when she needed me, and I've lived with that regret every day since she passed. But Lily and Oliver, they deserved someone who wouldn't fail them. They deserved to be heard. Thomas testified next, describing the false accusations, his wrongful imprisonment, his helplessness knowing his family was suffering. "I'm not perfect, Your Honor. I've got no money, no fancy house, but I love my children more than my own life. Please, don't punish them for my circumstances." Eleanor's testimony was the most emotional. "I was proud and foolish. I let my anger at my daughter's choices blind me to her suffering. I threw away 5 years I can never get back. But, Your Honor, I'm here now. My home is ready. My heart is open. Those children are my blood, and I will protect them with everything I have." Then Judge Thornton did something unexpected. "I'd like to hear from Lily." The courtroom fell silent. Lily entered, so small in her yellow dress that Eleanor had bought for her. She climbed into the witness chair, her stuffed bear clutched tight. Judge Thornton knelt beside her, speaking gently. "Lily, I know this is scary, but I need to understand what you want. Can you tell me?" Lily looked at her father, her grandmother, Dr. Evelyn. Then she spoke, her voice trembling but clear. "I took care of Mommy when she was sick. I took care of Oliver when he was born. I tried to get help, but nobody listened. I drew pictures, I asked neighbors, but everyone said everything was fine, even though it wasn't." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Daddy didn't do anything wrong. A bad man lied. Grandma Eleanor didn't know how much we needed her. Mommy tried so hard, and Dr. Evelyn finally heard us." She took a shaky breath. "I just want my family together. Please don't take us apart again. Please." The courtroom was utterly silent. Judge Thornton wiped her own eyes and returned to the bench. "I need time to consider everything I've heard today. Court is adjourned. I'll deliver my decision in 1 hour." As everyone filed out, Lily ran to Eleanor and Thomas. They held her between them, a family waiting to know their fate. Evelyn stood by the window, watching clouds gather outside. 1 hour, 60 minutes to determine if this family would be reunited or torn apart forever. Judge Thornton returned, her expression soft. "I've reached my decision. Custody of Lily and Oliver Brennan is granted to Eleanor Brennan, with Thomas Brennan having full parental rights and participation. Marlo Brennan will have supervised visits during her recovery." The courtroom erupted in tears and embraces. Lily clung to her grandmother and father, finally safe. 6 months later, Eleanor's garden bloomed with summer roses. Lily, now 7, played in the grass, her laughter filling the air. Thomas pushed baby Oliver on a swing, the little boy giggling with delight. His early struggles had resolved. He was healthy, thriving, loved. Marlo arrived for her visit, clearer and stronger each week. She scooped Lily into her arms, spinning her around. "My brave girl." Evelyn watched from the porch, her heart full. She'd found her purpose again, not replacing Helena, but honoring her memory by helping others find their way home. Eleanor joined her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Thank you for teaching me that it's never too late to choose love over pride." As the sun set over the reunited family, Evelyn smiled. Sometimes the greatest cries for help are silent, but when someone finally listens, entire worlds transform.